But hello everyone, welcome to the Untitled Discussion Volume 2 here at Kitacon. It's the second time we've run this panel. So basically what we've gone and done is we've comprised a series of questions regarding convention organisation and convention life into the Untitled Board of Wonder. There'll be categories and questions behind each of those. So each member of the panel will take a turn to pick a topic from the board, and each topic will reveal a question, sometimes two. The participants must then answer the question as honestly as possible and create discussion. And we must stress that the opinions and thoughts about convention life revealed here are those of the individual only and do not reflect the views of Kitacon Events Committee Limited.
What's discussed in the room stays in the room.
Yes. And it stops people going, oh, Kitacon said this about this event. So, no, that person did, not the organisation as a whole. But yes, that is the basics of the entire discussion. So, let me introduce you to our panellists today. First up, we have Shenny. He's currently our Kitacon Events Officer. He's from MCM. He's also a DJ and hates the unwanted use of the flanger in DJ mixes.
Yeah! Fuck the flanger!
Next up, we have Canada, who is the Kitacon Reg Officer. He's the man in ops most of the weekend. He loves James Bond, so we share a mutual bond over that. And enjoys sweet, sweet ice cream. Next, we have Lush, who is the Kitacon Creative Officer. He's also the guest liaison as well, and he's one of the longest serving members of the Kitacon Committee. So you've been here pretty much from the beginning?
Yeah.
Such tales.
So exciting.
Yes, I have. It's been lovely.
Lovely. And last but not least, we have Keith, who is a member of Team Giblets with his wife Claire. He's an ad hoc host, so you may see him at a couple of events this weekend on stage, as well as Manami and other events and such. He is an anime industry man, and he has a dangerous Ainsley Harriott obsession, as dictated by this picture.
Can I just say, this is the shoddiest YMCA I've ever seen.
So, yeah.
The only one who's doing it, apparently.
So, those are our panellists, and it's time to reveal the board of questions. So, we have Mythbuster, Fellowship of Attendees, I Made a Terrible Mistake, Precious Booty, Get in the Sea, The Family Tree, Shine a Light, Alternate Universe, and Notice Me Senpai. So, which one of the panelists would like to go first?
Oh, which one? Luke can.
Luke,
We can go last one.
pick a category from the board.
I think after my last night's performance, I'll go with I have made a terrible mistake.
Hang on, let me get my mouse over there.
Again, anyone who's in the hentai panel, I am so sorry.
I made a terrible mistake, and your question is, what was your first convention experience, and what made you get involved in the community? So, Luke, you picked the question, you may go first.
It was alright, yeah. My very, very first convention was IRO5, it was here. And I just got roped into it basically because one of my university friends was just raving about, oh, we have to go to conventions. I was like, yeah, I've been to a couple of like the Collectomania type things, like just little dealer's room type things around Milton Keynes. And he said, no, this is a proper thing, you get in costume and everything. I was like, yeah, okay, I'm going for a laugh, it looks fun. And we went there, and I was Vash the Stampede. I even had like full hair and everything like that, grew hair out for it. That was fun. And
You never had.
yes, I will get pictures. I did have hair, damn you. I was young once.
That is also a lie.
No, I came out of the womb looking like this. I'm sorry. And basically me and Lauren just absolutely took to it like ducks to water. We loved it, and my university friend has never been to one since, which is odd.
Did you disturb him that much?
We barely saw him at the convention. Yeah, he showed up. We saw him for like a minute or two, and we said hi, and it's like, okay, you enjoy your stuff, we'll enjoy our stuff. And then apparently he didn't enjoy himself, so he never ever came back. And since then. We went to other conventions, Amicon, we went to Foodcon, and Amicon I got to be friendly with the committee, and they just invited me on to sort of see if I could be convention secretary, because it was Will running at the time, and his sister, who was the convention secretary, was completing her last year of uni, and so she was busy, and they said, this is a responsible adult, we'll invite him over to be the con secretary. It did not go well. I made a terrible mistake. Because I was not suited for that job. It was very, very like spreadsheety and organising, and that is not my bag, baby. So yeah, I basically was a glorified gopher for that one. I just made myself useful whilst I was at the convention. I wasn't too great at the organisation before it. And then when Kitacon got started, again, all friends of ours, it was Ron and Dan and everyone getting it started, and they were like, oh yeah, do you want to be committee? I was like, a little bit hesitant considering my last escapade into it. I'm okay to be staff. I'll do staff. I'll do like videos and stuff for you. And they were, yeah, okay, sure, we'll do that. And so I was staff for the first one. Lauren was full on masquerade and like cosplay committee for that one. And then I became the creative officer for the next Kitacon. So I have been with Kitacon since it started, but I've actually only been committee from the second year on. Oh. Interesting. Anyone else about their first con?
I don't know, my first con, I used it as an excuse to get away from the girlfriend that was pissing me off, so it's like, no, I've had enough of your shit, I'm gonna go.
Indeed.
Yeah, that was not a fun time. No, it's just like my first convention was, again, IRO 5. It was kind of, I think a lot of my friends in my local circle back in Bristol, they ranted and raved about MA04, and they basically came back with like Fanta on a brick on a stick was a thing. Like, what I now understand are memes, apparently, but it was just like someone holding up a Fanta. Apparently,
we didn't call them memes in the old days. We called them amusing picture messages.
Your pictograms.
Pictograms, yes.
Yeah, so it was a case of like, well, I don't know, like, I lost out basically on a lot of in-jokes that my weeby friends were basically spouting for the rest of the year. And when IRO 5 came around, I was like, alright, fine, fuck you guys, I'm not part of this. And then my first memory, or my only memory of IRO 5 was watching Snap getting hit by a bus. So...
Steph does not have much.
It's the same leg,
does it?
It's the same leg from us.
Oh, that's
He does not have a good history of this venue at the moment.
Is this how he got his nickname?
I don't know. No, I think he was Snap before.
Because he is a man of glass.
I think that should be, I think we should spread that as how he got his name now, though.
No.
Yes.
I feel the official story is much more harrowing than he got into a fight, which is what CGL seems to think. But no, it's been a wild ride getting started, and then I started going to MCMs, and I got really bored of just going around to dealers hall, and I ended up working with the cosplay guys, and that was basically how I got started. And then I got more involved in other conventions as a DJ and staff member, and eventually I had a couple of committee positions. Did a committee position for Iain as their PR and evening events organizer back in 2013, so I only oversaw the last one. And I've done two stints on the Kita committee now. Did one back in 2012, and then obviously started again this year to replace Morty as an insult manager. So that was my horrible mistake.
Saying yes twice.
Yeah, mine just started off with I made this into Alcohol 7, so that kind of sums all that up really, doesn't it? With your cardboard laminated badges. It was just, on the forums like, oh, come along, alright, go along to the events. And like, you like helping out, yeah? Here's a gopher badge. And it just kind of spiraled from there, and I ended up on the committee the next year and decided to keep going for a while until 2012 probably. And I don't know why I didn't stop, but you just ended up sort of sitting there doing all your stuff, and I've done reg the entire time. So for 10 years I've been in charge of giving everyone their badges and keys, and
You just hate yourself.
Did we
don't you?
meet?
Yeah,
When I was still DJing
I
alcohol?
think so. Probably.
Sure. I don't remember. I honestly don't.
I don't really remember a lot of my Alcons. You just kind of drank a lot, didn't you? Very
It was £2 a fishbowl.
Yeah.
I was.
Oh, God,
not
that.
sober.
Oh god, the best unit of drinking. The fishbowl.
So yeah, that's just kind of how I got into it, and yeah, I think Terrible Mistake sums up my first choice of cons to go to, really.
Oh god, just trying to think. Yeah, my first convention that I went to was AME 04 back in the day, which was quite entertaining because at the time I'd actually been talked into going to it by someone I'd never met in person who I'd been chatting to over the internet for a while, and they, yeah, I don't know how sordid does that sound, convinced me to go to AME 04, and yeah, really loved it, had the time of my life, and I thought, yeah, I want to keep going to these events, and I did, and just kind of accidentally ended up doing Steph because, yeah, IRO 5, I decided to cosplay for the first time, basically dressed in a white suit as a character from a show called Axel Saga.
Yes.
And I thought, fuck it, as I'm here, I'll take part in the masquerade. Thank you for that polite round.
You have become iconic through that, admittedly.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Although your Spider Jerusalem was on point.
That man whose name is legend.
But yeah, because, I mean, yeah, turned up at Iacon, decided to cosplay for the first time as, you know, that man, and decided, you know, as I dressed up, because this was back in the days where if you wanted to take part in the masquerade, you could just turn up on the day and go, can I take part in the masquerade, please? And they let you in. So I did that with a mate who was dressed up as another character from the show called Nabishin, and while we were in the kind of dress rehearsal, being told what to do, between us we just kind of sat there and thought, well, this is a bit dull, actually, let's see if we can do a little skit on stage. So we literally came up with something in the queue and then did it on the stage. It was a really stupid thing, but the audience really seemed to like it. We got a pretty decent, you know, cheers and round of applause for it, and I thought, actually, I quite enjoy that. I'm going to do it again. So yeah, so I started performing more at conventions. Eventually, a few years later, me and my wife started our own little kind of business selling T-shirts, which it's always pleasant seeing people going around at conventions wearing some of our stuff.
Still need to make your website.
I know.
It's been a year.
I think I brought one of your t-shirts to this event. I'm pretty sure I've got my special star snowflake one.
Yeah, but basically it's just, with me, it's been a kind of non-stop scale of escalation, because I ended up taking part in more and more events and conventions, because I became quite an established hand at hosting stuff and doing comedy skits, and then as I did the t-shirt business with the wife as well, and through that, and just through the people I've met with and associated over the years, eventually ended up working as I do now for all the anime as a production manager there, actually putting out the animated shit that we all buy and watch. So it's, yeah, just been this long succession of terrible mistakes for about over a decade now, which has led me to where I am today. So hooray.
Career in a growth industry.
Yeah, I know.
Right, thanks for that, guys. Back to the board. Right, Canada, your choice.
We're going to have to go for Precious Booty, aren't we?
Precious Booty. You are a pirate. Yar, Precious Booty. What is your most cherished treasure you have collected at a con? Mark, over to you.
Alright, ironically, it's actually going to be a scar.
Maybe what? A scar?
A scar.
Scar.
Yeah, so it was... Yeah, no, haven't we? It was one of the old Alcons. We're all just milling around in the quads, everyone's having a few drinks, and we decided, let's have a giant game of British Bulldog.
As you do.
Yeah, no, if anyone's been to Alcon, sorry.
It's not your job to apologise for that.
No, actually, it wasn't that time.
Oh, right, okay.
You were part of the Alcon committee,
Yeah.
but we ended up forming an Alcon support group, which was basically a couple of guests that didn't want to be there, but they had to be there for business reasons. So it was me, Holly Bennett, who was a bandoing amp guy, went on to do PlayStation stuff. She's now doing her own video series for PlayStation Access. You were part of that.
Oh my god, yes. I remember that now.
Because we would like obviously to get away and drink. So that was always a fun thing to.
Yeah, I mean, the committee kind of was getting to levels of the, do we kind of have to go, we organised it, can we not turn up to the event? Yeah.
I don't want to be seen there.
Yeah, it was kind of like, we don't mind sort of like organising it to be a bit fun, but do I actually have to go? So the game, sort of, I mean, you've seen the quad, it's not that big. 60 people deciding to play Bulldog is not a smart idea on a slightly raised grass platform surrounded by a load of concrete. And it ended up with someone, alright, go on, the staff can go first. We all run, and it just get nailed completely off the side into a wall. At the time I was like, oh god, this is terrible, but every time I think back, it just shows me, you think, oh, people can't be that stupid. And I go, no, they can be that stupid.
People can always be that stupid.
That was me once. It happens. And it's that little reminder to, yeah, just try not be so much of a dick at cons anymore.
That's why I'm glad for, like, when I was first starting at the cons, camera phones were not a thing.
Yeah.
It was a case of just like, oh, I've got a camera, I'll film this, and it was one of these big, heavy things, and it would record to tape, and it would never see the light of day because no one would get asked to get it onto a machine to put it on YouTube. So there is a lot of shit that I've done on film which will never see the light of day.
You hope.
Not Iain encodes it.
No.
I will find that footage.
No, you won't.
And I will remaster
No, you
that
won't.
footage.
Even me running around Bristol with a Naruto headband on, which is probably still on YouTube, admittedly.
Someone else can answer, I'm just going to go on
Were you
YouTube
just
now.
that excited?
I thought it was hot shit at the time, like that's the weeb that I was.
That's really well, I am glad there were no
I don't
camera
think
phones when I was 16 at my first con.
I don't think I've ever suffered any injuries though.
Just psychological scars. As opposed to physical
in
ones.
his hentai banner?
No, I posted my good ones, so.
If we're talking about injuries, I can reveal back in 2013, I got my face smacked in with a security barrier here at Icon.
Yes, I was there.
That was fun, and I was in the middle of
He
the.
was walking straight towards us, and the thing just came down. It was an automatic barrier.
Yeah.
And it just went poof.
Yep.
All I saw was Iain just go.
And then I was kind of lying on my back in the stone circle for at least an hour with a pack of ice on my face going, ow! And then it's like, right, we need to film fate. But yeah, that's my horrible injury from my convention. But who else wants to go for precious booty?
I'm going to be really sappy here and say the thing that I cherish most about from any of the cons is friends. I know, it's so bad, but no, it seriously is. It's like, I've always been a little bit of a social person, but I've never really just connected and just stayed friends with people as long as like the people that I've met at cons. There's just the long and the short of it really is I've just made friends that have just stuck as really, really good friends, because you always get friends come into your life, friends go out of your life, but the con friends have always been there no matter what. So that's pretty much it for me.
I suppose for me, I think, favourite thing I've got from a con actually, I think it was IOCon 2009. As part of the skit event, I'd done this video for a kind of Final Fantasy VII meets Resident Evil kind of crossover game. And yeah, it went down ridiculously fucking well, because the audience fucking loved it, and the host of the event, they got the voice actor guest, Matt Mercer, to host the event, and he is an awesome guy, and got a bit of a man crush on him, I've got to say. And
He doesn't with that hair.
yeah, it's gorgeous. But yeah, so, I'd done the skit and basically got a standing ovation, so they called me back out onto the stage, and he just kind of like grabbed me, sort of like mock kissed me, and bloody nerd managed to get a picture of that moment, and because he had a tablet thing on him, he got Mercer to sign the photo on his tablet, and I've got a copy of that hanging on my wall because that was awesome. So that is my favourite memento.
It's like a real memento.
Yeah, no, that's literally what I'm a dictionary definition. There you go. I guess mine aren't really that. I don't know, like that important to me, but I guess now, because of the accumulated amount of them, it would be my combat collection. Because I have over 200 now.
You do document your combat collection after every time on Facebook.
I have to. I've got a huge box full of them, and I mean, it's organised by date, and it just shows us, like, if I went to this event, then I can also pull out the other stuff I did with it. Because obviously you get, you know, like I have a committee badge, I've a guest badge, I've got a press, I've got someone's press badge, and then I've got my own membership badge. So I've started going to cons outside of the UK, and they do their badge system a little bit differently. So I've got badges of all sizes, shapes. I've got I went to an event in the Netherlands, and they give you clip-on badges, one for each day, and then one for every event that you're running. So I had 7. Just that I had to wear on me at all times.
Did you end up looking like a North Korean general?
I didn't quite have them on the trousers, no, but I was running out of space for stars, yes. And I think, like, cumulatively, like, I can look back and go, like, I've done and been to so many amazing events, and I've met and had fun with so many of my friends and met new people. And if I'm honest, being on social media is kind of a bit of a something I'm not entirely fond of at the moment, mainly because I can scroll through my Facebook feed and never feel like I'm catching up with anyone. So I prefer a much more like physical nostalgia element, and the badges and like physical photos I've got from years and years back are probably more precious to me, I think, in terms of remembering events and stuff that I've done there. So yeah, I think that's more or less it for me.
Great, thank you guys. Alright, back to the board. Right, Shelley, it is your turn to pick a category.
Mythbuster.
Mythbuster. Spooky. It's not really. What is the strangest myth you've heard in the convention community? Now, this could be like the weirdest sort of thing, like, oh, this convention does this because that happens, or so forth. So, this is going to be a fun one.
There are honestly too many. Honestly too many. MCM paying themselves in Ferraris is an interesting one that keeps getting spouted. Considering Brian, the CEO, has unfortunately been driving nothing but a hatchback for years, and the only thing that he wants in his life, he only got this year, which was a Star Wars arcade cabinet. And he's wanted that for 10 years, but he could never justify spending like the £2,000 on it or whatever it is.
So now he's achieved his life goal, what is he going to do? Is he just
sell the company and move on? No,
He's going to blow up the Death Star, that's what he's doing.
Yeah, pretty much.
Death Star.
I don't know, like there's a lot of myths that go around for cons, mainly from people that seem to think up this is how something works. Like one probably more common ones is that anyone can drop and respond to a message at the drop of a hat when we're all volunteers working around our lives to run this, and that includes real jobs. So maybe, you know, like if you get an email from us, 90% of the time we're taking a shit while we're doing it, because you can.
That's all I'm going to think on now. I wonder if Shelley's taken a massive dump while he sent this to me. Yeah,
it's quite relaxing, especially if you've got to send an angry email.
Yes! Yeah, so much
more relieved afterwards.
So I've sent hundreds of emails this con. Guaranteed he's one or two of them.
But when you do have to respond to stuff, and it is a case of you've got to respond to something to your day job, you know, like, I'm just going to be a little low. You might not be taking shit, but you're in that cubicle writing an email to someone being like, yeah, so my panel needs this, this, and this, and I'm like, okay, but we've sent you this, so you need to bring your extra stuff. I don't know, maybe the horse turning up at MCM, that was... someone was dressed, there was a myth going around that someone dressed up as some Disney character turned up with a horse. It was not in fact the case, but it did go over the radio. So that was quite an amusing one. But other than that, I don't really have any standouts that just pop off the top of my head unless you guys know anything else or think anything else.
I suppose there's the myth that... No, I can't say that.
You can.
Yeah. You
Come on.
Piqued our interest.
Yeah, I heard an interesting rumour that apparently Alcon's competently run.
Is that too soon?
Oh, God.
Shade.
Such shade, such shade.
Shan't I use spell?
As iterated by Iain at the start of the event, all opinions are our own and not affiliated with any organisations or companies we may work for. So that is strictly from me there.
Fuck up, God.
A 17-year-old on the fucking committee, what do you expect?
Ew.
I think the best one you can use is being friends with the committee doesn't instantly get you free shit.
That is a
And
common
I'm not
one,
saying
isn't it?
as a committee member that I'm not, you know, it's just gonna be, I'm not gonna go, hey, skip the queue, have free stuff. Do you know how hard it is to find your friends and 2,000 people when you're doing your job to give them free stuff? Let alone finding free stuff to give them if you had any. It's, yeah. That is the biggest myth you'll constantly hear if you work in committee level staff, go for anything, is your friends think they can just skip queues, get stuff. People are like, oh, I buy you a drink, can I get this? No, it's not that I can't give it, we don't have stuff to give you, it is, you've got what you get, everyone gets it, there's nothing, there's not a big conspiracy of extra stuff.
That's the thing though, because people say like, oh, you can just give me like one of your spare free badges. I'm like, no, a free badge costs us money. It's not free for us to just give you, let you in. Maybe we've got to pay VAT on you being there. So it's like, no, just give me a free badge, it'll be fine. I'm saying, no, we can't do that. We need to justify a reason, otherwise the taxman reams us from behind with a big pole.
Yeah, so every badge that goes out, we have to check on our system. We then have to tick that that badge went out. It does actually count as a new person here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Simon's not happy when we do that.
Basically, actions have consequences.
Shocking, huh?
Terrible, terrible consequences.
Well, that is quite really common, especially with me in previous years where things like hotel rooms get sold out and all that, and you have people who just immediately friend you on Facebook. You think, oh, they must have enjoyed what I did at a convention. That's absolutely fine.
They save rooms for us, right?
And then they go,
They don't save rooms for the committee sometimes.
Because that's something that actually probably we should, that I think people at large need to know more, is that when it comes to hotel rooms, we don't have hotel rooms for every single person that wants to come to the event. Like, it's an impossibility. Hilton does not have 2,000 odd rooms that people can afford, and not all of the hotel rooms are given to us as part of any discount that we may offer.
It's a completely separate entity to us.
Yeah.
We just say, can you please give us
Because
rooms?
no-
Think about it.
Residential cons such as Kita, Ame, and IO, they've done it as a courtesy to try and entice people to come in, but no other event does this. I mean, one of the caveats for most small cons is that they will negotiate with the venue to have a percentage off their total bill for the venue based on how much they can sell at hotel rooms. And even then, the venue will keep hotel rooms to themselves so they can mark up and make a bit more of a profit. And we have no control over that. You know, when people say like, oh, just make 200 more hotel rooms available, it's like we physically can't, it's not part of our contract. You know, like the hotel will not release more. Like you can buy them last minute from the venue itself and the hotel itself, but as a convention and as an organiser, we can't interfere with that at all. Once we've sold our allotment, and that's it. That's full stop.
Luke, were you about to add something into before I interjected?
No, I was thinking the only really stupid myth I can think of is the one that resurfaced again recently, is the wandering orgy.
Oh God, yeah.
If anyone's seen it, unfortunately, it's the same post every time of these mystery people organising an orgy at a convention. They go around all the conventions.
That's the Purple Lanyard thing, right?
Yeah.
No,
That's a different
real.
story.
Oh, that's the real one, right? I see.
No, but basically it just keeps sort of mythologically going from con to con, but for some reason every time it's showed at Kitacon, people believe.
Because of the purple landings.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's someone sort of thinks this is a real tangible thing, even though it's the exact same post every single convention. Like LFCC get it, like MCM get it, everyone gets it, but it's just for some reason people believe. And I do get asked, oh, you know, have you heard about this orgy going on? It's like, why do you instantly assume that I'm going to know?
Why do you assume anything on 4chan is true?
Exactly. Oh, it's in text, it must be true.
Anonymous people on the internet.
Well, they seem like they've got their shit together. They seem like cool guys. They must know what's going on.
Yeah, because Nazis don't exist, that's the thing.
Oh, God. Oh, what times we live in.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't think like fuck Nazis is a controversial statement in 2017.
Oh.
Yeah, how is that a thing?
God. I don't know, the whole world went insane for the last couple of years. It's been a truly interesting time to be alive.
Has given comedians a shitload of that material, hasn't it?
Well, yes and no, but satire is dead where Trump's concerned.
Yeah,
Because it's just like, you just watch him, it's like...
It's terrible when it's actual truth.
Yeah.
So you can't make fun of it because it is actually
Was that BBC or was it Newsfront?
all of them.
I can no longer tell.
Sometimes they share the post, they just post the same thing.
Yeah, I can't discern like a CNN like headline now from The Onion. Like it's that bad.
The Onion's more realistic.
Yeah,
The Onion do
better research.
Citations.
Awesome, right. Well, that's Mythbust out of the way. Back to the board. Keith, it's time for your choice. We still have Fellowship of the Attendees, Get in the Scene, Family Tree, Shine a Light, Alternate Universe, or Notice Me Senpai.
I'm going to go with Alternate Universe.
If I can get the mouse over there, it's the
That's a beautiful soundtrack.
You suddenly have the power to change one thing in the convention community. What would you change in this alternate universe?
Oh, fucking hell. Jesus.
It's really going to be hard to pick one.
Yeah, I was going to say like
Yeah,
two.
my God, I have such a long, salty list of hates.
Start from Italia, work your way down.
Oh, God, yeah, shit. What to go with? I think I'm just going to go with overall. I'm not sure quite how to articulate, just kind of people's actually no, people's, the community's sense of entitlement, basically. This kind of feeling that, you know, they deserve everything and people should bend over backwards for them, and it manifests through everything from events through to, you know, business side of things. I mean, case in point, the company I work for example, we get a lot of stick because you know, our release dates have a bit of a habit of sliding, and you know, which is not something we ever intend to happen. But there's just so many things that are out of our control, and it's just people forget that the people who run the events at conventions or put on the conventions, the people who work in the industry, the people who help out in all the various different things that make our little geeky community work, they're all just as geeky and invested as they are, and they really want to make everything work. And when it doesn't, it's not down to any specific real failure on their part. They're trying just as hard. It's just sometimes things don't go according to plan, and it's just the way that certain aspects of the community just seem to take sadistic pleasure in just shitting all over everyone. For no good reason, really. That's the one thing I would change. If people could just be a little more thoughtful, that would be great, honestly. Because I mean, I've been in the scene for well over a decade now, and I've tried my hand at most things in it now, and you know, I love our little niche world. It's great. This is why I'm working in it. I just, you know, I wish people would be a little nicer. A little more sensible, maybe. That's all. I'm gonna cry.
I'm going to pass for that.
Well, I'm under strict orders not to just say attendees from Luke, so...
You can if you want.
It's not right, it's...
advisory,
Well, it's called about things like the sharing something with the emails, it's just that little bit of patience sort of idea. It's if something goes wrong, we're not always to blame. Mistakes happen. We're human. If you're on like the staffing side of it, and it's this idea that I emailed you an hour ago. Where's my response? I haven't looked at my phone in an hour. I'm sorry. It's sort of the entitlement.
But why are you not?
He was taking a shit.
That's probably email response time.
It's something I'd have to agree as an overall. The entitlement kind of sums it up, really.
I think okay, so like it's not. I mean, we don't want to hang on with it.
Labour the point.
Yeah, but you can also say the same about committee members. I have seen committee members that have basically retorted to any valid criticism with, "We run this in our spare time. You should be grateful we're doing it at all."
Oh God, no, I'm not just talking.
And my opinion of that is, okay, you're running something out of the goodness of your heart for a community, but at the end of the day, that person has spent £500 to come to an event that you're running, and if your retort of why something is not quite up to standard is, well, fuck you, we do this off our own backs, that's not, regardless of whether we're volunteers or it's our full-time jobs, you need to put a product out there that satisfies the customer, regardless of what your intentions are for the community as a whole anyway. And I guess I'd just change that. I feel like it's more of the entitlement thing is just something our community has. And I understand that when it comes to members being stressed about registration, they might only have an hour in their day to get a response and to get it sorted, or they have a panic attack. And on the flip side, a committee member might not have a chance in their busy life to answer any emails until maybe the Sunday. So it's a push and pull on both sides. And I think maybe patience across the board for everything is probably something that I would like to
caveat online. Actually, it's just like because everybody at all levels of something.
Well, I think that's where one of the rises for anxiety is that literally your phone is always on. You're always on Twitter, Facebook, you are always 100% contactable, and literally your phone just doesn't stop in the run up to a convention. And I was just like, no, done. I don't want to look at it because just the buzz, the vibrations, the sound, it was just setting me off.
Destroy them.
Well, yeah, don't do that. Just contact. But other than that, I think one thing I would like to remove is the necessity for the convention to provide discount hotels. Because that frees up, I know there's financial reasons why we can't immediately do that, but in an alternate universe that'd be nice. But it would remove us from having to negotiate with the venues to get rooms at cheaper rates because we can only sell these many rooms. And it kind of puts our finances on a bit more of an even keel because we're not sitting there thinking, shit, if we don't sell all these rooms, the main hall is going to cost us £5 more a day, or something to that effect. And if people know from the get-go that they've just got to sort their own shit out, we don't get emails at 1 o'clock in the morning being like, we can't book a room. Why is the room registration thing down? It's it's not controlled by us. It's not something that we can control anyway. We can pop the venue a message and then however long it takes them to respond. We basically can't become middlemen. And then that stops us from doing our work because we're having to chase other avenues. So I think I would like that to change, to be honest.
The only thing I can think that I would change personally is just something that is my own sort of personal hell, and that's printing companies. Because everything, obviously, everything for artwork all comes through printing companies. So
com books,
missing
badges,
missing badges. The banners that were going to be anyone who came to the last kit, there was these cardboard standy banners. They were nice slot together things showing where all the rooms are. You may have noticed now we've got the roll banners is because the cardboard slot together company completely failed on us. So it's okay, I've got to spend this entire night redoing all of the artwork just to get it all nice and printed, and we did a wonderful 24-hour print, and it's all beautiful now, but it's always just that little personal headache because we always just think, yeah, we've done it all in time, it's all perfectly sorted, everything's good, and then right at the last second, the printing companies just go, we can't do it.
Oh, you can get them next week.
Yeah, no, that is a week
We've
after
got every 2 years.
T-shirt one last year of the. Oh, sorry, you can't have all these colours you asked, and we said okay 2 months ago.
Yeah, we booked it way ahead of time because we knew that the standard T-shirt would be 3 colours, I think, and that the VIP was going to be just this lovely full colour print. And then when it came to it, it's like, no, the standard T-shirt is 1 colour, the VIP is 3 colours, and so the artist was pulling her hair out because she'd already covered someone else's job, as just like going mental trying to devolve her art into just 1 colour and 3 colours, and basically her beautiful design just got mashed down, and the layers into it was a shadow of its former self. Because I saw that I put up the original art that Maggie did, it was beautiful. And then the T-shirts is just like, it's like someone's just put a stencil filter on it, and then away we go. But it's, we had no other choice at that point because it's literally like 2 days before the con. So printers and their deadlines is definitely something that I would banish to the nether regions of hell.
You'll get no disagreement from me on that.
Same here. Anyway, thank you very much. That's all to Universe. Right, we've still got some time. Still got at least half an hour at least. So, let's have another category. This time though, I'm going to let someone from the audience choose. So put your hands up if you want to choose the category. I'll go for you. Yeah?
Notice me, senpai.
Notice me, senpai. Oh, there's no sound there. Oh, I'm sad. Anyway, notice me, senpai. Share your favourite guest encounter, any convention that you have attended. These could be good, these could be bad, and if I like the answers, I might reveal the awkward interview I had with Idris Elba.
Meeting Vic Dick Lasagna.
Mr. McNogna.
McNogna is that I've met him a couple of times at MCM shows. He does his usual signing thing. He comes off quite nice to organisers, but when you find him in a hot tub bar buying drinks for underage men, it kind of colours your opinion on him slightly. I kind of got this polarising view of guests, is that I don't really see them as
People.
No, I don't see them as famous. No, I don't think so. Okay.
I just see them as decaying sacks of flesh.
I didn't realise you met a big frog. It's like because I've worked so many events and I've worked them solely from behind the scene. I don't see them as famous. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Like I bumped into I forget his name now. The guy, the original Flash, Gordon. He's been to a couple of MCM shows, and I bumped into him again in America, and he gave me his mobile number to go for drinks.
Sam Jones.
That's it, yeah, Sam Jones.
Yeah,
he is lovely. He's such a great guy. And we went for drinks afterwards, it was the weekend of the London terror attack with the van, and he was telling me the rumours that he'd heard through American news services, and I was like, it was a white van. There was no bomb. No nails, as far as I'm aware. But other guests and stuff like Matt Mercer, I've met a bunch of times. He, back at Kitacon in 2015, I think it was. He was doing a guest signing because he just started Critical Role at that point. And he came and drank with us because we've known him for 4 years from Aya. He was at every Iain since 09, wasn't
Yeah, he was pretty much regularly attendee because he was awesome.
And yeah, like I've met Donnie Yen, I've met all the Power Rangers now.
Even the dead one.
No, admittedly not. I've met all of them that are alive in the original show.
That was unfortunate. You were arrested for it.
Here's the interesting thing. The original Black Ranger doesn't have a full set of fingers on his left hand.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, because if you look at the way it's shot,
you can see it. Apparently, this is the thing because we were filming into the last MCM in May, and I was manning a camera, and then someone over the voice comes and was like, "Is your name because he was just sort of sat there like that. And we were just like, really? Can we get away with zooming in? So we can have a quick. And like we had to look it up. We had to look it up on Wikipedia, and apparently he's had it since he got casted. And there are 2 episodes of the original series where you can see it. One of which is when he's doing his morphing animation, and he's got the hands with the morpher. And there's a scene where he like takes something, and those are the only 2 times you can see that he's missing a finger from his hand, which is an interesting thing. Yeah, my guest encounters are kind of just boring because they're just nice people. Other than, paedophiles buying drinks for
I guess, being guest liaison now is like, I get a good first contact with guests. I've got a couple really quick ones. There's one with Kitacon, and there was one where I just went as an attendee to another convention. The one with Kitacon is when we impromptu made a dinner reservation / panel for Mr. B, the Gentleman Rhymer, and Professor Elemental. And it was just one of the best panels we've ever done because they needed food. We didn't have time to make them food. We needed to get the panel in because they were going to do their set straight after. I was like, can we combine the 2? Are you gents okay with this? And they were both absolute lovely people, so they were like, yeah, okay, let's go for a break, let's see what happens. And so we set up a dining table between them and got the nice Hilton food ordered in for them, and so they were both just having a nice pleasant dinner as rivals / best friends and interviewing each other. So it's like, it was really easy for my part because I could just sort of sit back and go, what have we created? This is wonderful. I wish I could do this with all the guests. It's just self-interviewing and feeding themselves. It's just a marvel. And,
do you have to spoon feed them normally?
No, never that. Oh, definitely, no. But my favourite one as an attendee was one of the LFCCs. They had Alex Winters, who was Bill from Bill and Ted, and I grew up on that. I found out about Van Halen through that film, and they're my favourite band of all time. That just rescued my life, basically. And I got to meet him, wearing loads of Van Halen stuff. And he just took the time, he just stopped the queue and he just chatted with me about Van Halen and Bill and Ted 3. And he was just like, oh yeah, we're going to get Eddie Van Halen in Bill and Ted 3. I was like, and he was like, oh yeah, chat to me later. And I never managed to chat to him later, but it was a nice little moment just being able to natter about just my favourite band with the guy who inspired me to listen to the favourite band. So that was just a nice little memory for me.
Anything from Mark?
I think the most interesting one for me was when we had Ashley Birch here at Kitso, because it's, right, I'm nearest Birmingham to committee, I'll get down there, meet at the airport, nice early night, 3 o'clock in the morning, packing contacts. And then just get to sleep, and then suddenly housemate's banging on the door. Her flight's going to be an hour early, you've got to get there quick. So bundle in the car, maybe drive a little bit too quick down the M5, get there, get a phone call from she's actually going to be an hour late now. And me and my missus, so I just sat in costume and this is airport prices. I'm not buying more than one of these drinks. And we've got this lovely sign that says, holy shit, it's Ash, next to us for 2.5, 3 hours in the middle of Birmingham Airport. We're like, should we put this down? Eventually, the flight arrives, we meet her. And she just kind of stops and stares, looks at us, looks at the sign, looks at us, and was like, do you mean me? We're like, well, yeah. And she's like, oh, hi. And just comes up, and then suddenly completely normal human being, just hugs, chats, gets to the hotel, get to the room, like, actually, let's just sit down and have a drink together. And it's like, wow, you're people. We're not functioning right now because we've been barely slept, and they've flown over, her and her friend, they've barely slept. And it's just sitting there, sort of casually, you sort of, for that moment, just realise, oh wait, you are a normal human being. Because all you know them as before you meet them are what you see online or see the shows they do.
Just a voice.
Yeah. And then after that, if you're ever at that con, she was just hiding playing DDR in the games room the entire time. So if you went
to drag her away from that machine, it's just like, you are in a panel now, I need you.
Well, the best bit about it was I went into chat to her and be like, oh, do you want a drink or anything? She's walking by, and there's a tiny Tina cosplayer next to her, does anyone see Ashley? You're literally playing DDR with her. And that moment was just where it just summed it up that people will follow these people around, and unless they're doing their bit, they're no longer that famous person. So that's what it also meant.
No, I feel like that's more of a common thing because I've met Daniel Radcliffe, I've met Jonathan Ross, always in the bog, backstage, and it's just
Don't ask why. They're emailing each other.
And the thing is, it's like Dan walked in and went, oh for fuck's sake, I just need 5 minutes, and I was stood there and I'm like, are you okay? He's like, are you with the staff? I'm like, yes, I am. He was like, no, I'm fine, thank you for asking. And it was just like, he was trying to hold back like the grumps. But he was a really, really sound guy. What's the other one? Tom, the one who played Malfoy.
Felton.
Tom, yeah, he was at Birmingham doing some undercover cosplay-based thing for BBC Three. He was a bit of a weird one. Because he was nice and everything, but then he was dressed up like he was on crack. So he had this really, really nice young man, and he looked like Beetlejuice. But I'm pretty sure he was meant to be the Joker. But he had like spray on hair stuff.
He does like trying to cosplay. He's quite
yeah.
I'm not sure how successful he is with it.
He's not very good, let's put it that way.
He's not a makeup team, when you think.
You try your own efforts. Beetlejuice it is.
Well, I kind of already went through this in my Mercer story, but I think
Was there a guest that wasn't Mercer?
You had a bad one.
Actually, no, there's one other music. It's actually an MCM. I purely through chance ended up accidentally at a dinner with the production staff of the Attack on Titan anime because they've been guesting at MCM. At that show, at that point, I hadn't watched the show, didn't really know much about it, but I'd ended up at dinner with one of the big animation guests for the event at that point, and because I'm a bit of a troll, I just took a kind of selfie with them all in the background, just whacked on my Facebook, going, yeah, having dinner with the Attack on Titan production crew. I have no idea what the show's about. The amount of salt I got in my comments on that was just so worth it. So worth it.
Oh, no, I got some actually true hate because I was working a late shift, I hadn't had any chance to get any food, which I'm getting some sort of flashbacks for this weekend. And someone came up to me and she was just like, have you eaten? Like, do you want me to just take you for a Subway? And I didn't look at her, and I was just like, yes, thank you, that would be lovely. I knew she was either working with MCM or potentially a guest, and it was fucking Felicia Day. So there's me awkwardly trying to eat a Subway foot-long sandwich, not trying to get any sauce down me in front of the main guest for this event that wasn't, I think Gillian Anderson was the other one for that weekend. And I'm just like, okay. Do not freak out. Do not freak out. Do not freak out. And she's like, you okay? And I'm
Just enjoy the sandwich! Were you there just mashing sandwich into your face?
He just forces the foot long in it.
I can't talk.
Well, we're sharing stories about guest encounters. I said something about Idris Elba. Back in the early years of my convention malarking around the circuit, I think it was well before I joined the Kitacon committee, I did a movie podcast with someone I used to work with. And we'd gone to MCM as press. And this was the MCM where Idris Elba had come in to promote The Losers. It just finished filming, it was about a couple of months away from being released. But we managed to get a roundtable interview with Idris. The night before, however, we were also at the London Film Festival because we somehow have a sick desire to be tormented. We decided to go watch Nicolas Cage in Bad Lieutenant Protocol New Orleans. We didn't get back till about 2, 3 a.m. I got up at about 5, 6 a.m. to go back into London to go over to the Excel Centre, and we actually had the round table, and we all asked questions in turn, and I asked about the differences between the comic book of The Losers and the film, and Idris answered the question very professionally, but what I wasn't expecting was the return question because he asked for my opinion on it. Now, considering I only had about 2-3 hours worth of sleep, I kind of stared into space. And it was kind of, I'm sorry, could you repeat the question? So, Idris elaborates the question a bit more. And my response...
Not even a cursory, yeah, it's alright.
And then, thankfully, one of the other interviewers just interjected. I was like, "Oh, thank God!" But no, it was a very weird moment. But no, it was fine. We ended up talking a bit more about computer games. He's a massive FIFA fan on Xbox and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, that was a fun moment. I've also got Jeremy Irons on my list of fun encounters. That's from cinema, and he was there promoting environmental documentary. And he arrived, but before I had a chance to properly meet him as the Q&A host for his screening, the local press turned up unannounced, wanting to have an interview with him. And they somehow managed to piss him off to the degree that he vanished before I saw him. So I kind of thought, oh great, they've kind of pissed off Jeremy Irons so much that I now don't have a guest to talk to. But thankfully to come back. And it's very weird when he talks to you, because it's like he's talking like Scar in The Lion King. So anytime he's like, oh, you've been a gracious host. And it's like,
so are you going to kill me now?
Please don't kill me, Scar.
It's just the other press as I'm surrounded by idiots.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, those are my fun stories. I certainly need to go through all those ones. Right, let me get to the board. We still have time, I think, for one more question. I'm going to pick this question because I think it's a question most people would probably enjoy, and we're going to get in the sea.
You only put that because of the sound effect, didn't you?
Doesn't stop.
It's forever.
What has been the worst convention you have attended, or your worst convention experience?
Hang on.
Who wants to go first?
Can we not say Alcon? Is that
such an easy answer?
Hang on.
Well, that would make it a genuinely challenging question.
Yeah, exactly.
Otherwise, we'd be getting to see it as shooting fish in a barrel.
Yeah, that'd be cheating. So excluding the obvious candidate, because we've all had some pretty bad experiences at that one. So.
I've never been to Alcon.
No,
Lucky fuck.
They might not be around for much longer, I think you're right. Keep that streak up. I don't know.
it can be if you had a weird experience.
So
events.
I could think my worst convention experience was where I nearly snapped my leg in half, and I didn't sleep for 3 days. That was fun. Yeah, it was the very, very first VideoHub. And I was enjoying it. It was a lovely little convention. It's a nice little sort of compact little residential one. It was feeling very chill until the party night hit, and you know I do like to party. And yes, you may have noticed.
You have been known to party
occasionally once. I
Can't get him to stop half the time.
And yeah, basically I jumped onto the dancing area, and I had no idea that the floor had just been sort of freshly waxed. Oh. 1 foot was on the floor, 1 foot was on the carpeted floor. I was a wishbone for a second, and then my knee went sideways. And I just had this sort of awful click go from my knee down to my ankle. It's like my entire shin just sort of did a little fandango all of its own. And so I was like, this is a bad thing you do, Luke. So lie down.
So you were the person that calls the ambulance?
No ambulance. No, I was fine. I didn't go to hospital. I just carried on with the convention. I carried on partying that night. I just carried on. The
old guard are hardcore.
Yeah. I took 3 shots of vodka and went for it.
Tears butters.
That's not a recommendation, by the way. If you do get injured, do not do what he did.
No, do not. No,
this is what you should do. Call me on the phone.
First aid. That is the recommendation.
Please do not do what I did. No, basically.
Say not please we do.
And yeah, I stayed awake for the entire convention. I did not sleep the entire 3 days. I got to watch the sun rise over Nottingham like the beginning of The Lion King. It was beautiful, but I was.
Did the darkness ever recede, or was it just like?
Are you sure that you actually did watch the sunrise? Because there's been a few occasions where I've gone.
These eyes just drooping.
Well, I've gone that long without sleep, and I normally start having waking hallucinations at that point. So.
I could feel the warmth on the face, basically. I was just looking through the blinds, sat on the edge of the bed because I couldn't really lie down and then get back up again, so I decided to sort of try and sleep sat up, propped up on the bed, and just the
looking
light
over
going
the majesty of Nottingham.
The light just going straight through the blinds at me. I was just like, oh, that's quite beautiful. And so yeah, I was just limping around the rest of the con. Then when I finally got home, I was like, I really should get this checked in by a doctor. It's like, go to the X-ray ward now. Luckily, I was fine. I didn't break a thing. It was just all sprained all the way down. But it's yeah, I was limpy McLimperson for a long while.
What do you think about it? It's an alcohol. Because my story does involve alcohol.
So no alcohol,
the event itself.
No animated events. I'm kind of struggling because they all just stand out so much.
The problem with okay, so I will level right now where I think that Anime League as a concept is a really, really good idea. It's just run by a maniacal prick who's probably going to remove and ban me from Facebook in a minute. But
would you be
such a loss?
Which person are you talking about here?
Tight Mowers is his given name for some people.
Oh shit, they go by Microcon robot then.
So there's a lot of experiences I've had that have been bad at good events, and there's been a lot of bad events I've been to that have been actually quite fun because they've been bad events. We've had to, so I'm going to summarise a few that I can remember. Shouting at 16-year-olds to put my mattress back when I walked into the Alcon dorms. Because all the it's a shared door, like, okay, so you're in this block, and we walked in, all the rooms are unlocked and open, so you can just take whichever one you want. As these two girls were running out with my mattress, and I was like, can you fucking not?
What year was that?
Did they just want to preserve the memory?
I want to say it's 2010? No, 2011, 2012?
I would say, yeah.
Because that was...
it's about that happened so much, I have to check which year.
Every year.
So is any close with balconies now?
Oh no, I think I don't enjoy some of the small cons. I stopped enjoying most of the MCMs before I started working them because it was just a very bland event, and there wasn't much to do, which is one of the reasons why I got involved, was to try and either alleviate my boredom or bring more worthwhile content there. I honestly can't think of a terrible, this is the most horrid event, because I've never been to the ones that ended up being truly terrible.
You haven't been to mine.
I never went to Fushi, and all I got were horror stories from people that did.
Fushi was alright, yeah, Fushi. Well, the first Fushi was, I think.
No, Fushi didn't. Fushi ran once. Fuyu ran twice.
Oh no, yeah, sorry, yeah, because Fushi was kind of the one that evolved from Fuyu, wasn't it? It was like some of the Kitacon.
Yeah, I think I went to Fushi.
Because all I heard was that the combag were plastic bags from the Asda down the road.
That is the new love.
Thrifty.
Exactly.
No print shops.
Was that the one as well?
Sorry, no comebacks next year.
Was everyone
No, that
like
was.
this?
Oh, no, wait, hang on. We're forgetting the old fuckery of gaming.
Literally went up that lift, down the corridor, back downstairs.
Admittedly, GamerCon has now birthed a better event in the form of Coxcon, which takes place in Telford, which the guests who went to the first GamerCon run as a kind of an event. Not homage. It's more like for their audience, because a lot of the audience that came to GamerCon weren't specifically for them, and those of us that came because it was meant to be a change from the anime. It was meant to be a gaming convention built around the concept of how normal anime conventions work, like Kita, Anime, and a lot of us took the risk of it, and then we all came down with a fucking fever the first night, to the point where we were having fever dreams. The Britannia Hotel was
Hotel.
There's a H back there now. It's a horrible place. Don't go. It was a case of, that venue is just awful. Good events in there suffer some quite heavy issues. I mean, you know, like a window fell out and almost hit Ame's old chair.
Yeah, nearly killed Will, basically.
Yeah. It wasn't even a room that was in use. It was an empty room, and the windows fell straight out.
I think Phil's party set on one of the nights took down one of the
One of
last
the roofs
ceilings.
caved in, yeah. I think when Gemu was in that venue, I remember supposed to be DJing until 3 o'clock. No, they said that you were on until 4 o'clock in the morning, and one of the gophers came up to me and went, everyone's gone to bed. So there were no tech guys, there were no staff, there were no gophers, and I'm like, I've got 2 more hours to go. I'm going to bed because fuck this. Yeah, the roof cave in Britannia.
That was Amy.
No, I just that venue was just cursed because we tried, because we were so hungover. We tried to get some like herbal teas, and the guy behind the bar looked at us and went, "Do you put milk in that?" In his defence, it does have the nicest women's bathroom I've ever been in. It was amazing. It was like it was, the rest of the building looked like it was out of this 1970s.
Do you make a habit of checking the women's bathrooms?
No, someone came out and was like, "You've got to check this out." Because the rest of the building looks like a dilapidated 1970s British Legion council flat, and then this place looked like a fucking. It was all done. Yeah, it looked like something like Harrods. There was marble everywhere. There were like nice lights, nice big mirrors. There was like a leather couch, which we then took out and got outside so we could all use it.
Yeah, I vaguely recall the breakfast at the Britannia not being the most healthy looking as well. I think the bacon was looking more green than pink.
Well,
It's got that sort of rainbow shade.
Yeah, it's like this clearly looks like it's out of date and you've cooked it, and now it's kind of pinkish, greenish, greasy. I was disappointed. I actually like a nice big plate of bacon.
that venue.
Yeah, well, it means that you get the shits and you can appreciate the bathroom.
It's such lovely bathrooms.
Maybe that was their plan.
No, you couldn't appreciate the bathroom because my guest room had blood on the toilet seat. And no toilet
Cool
bowl.
album type.
I think one thing that I do remember from Gamu is the free cupcake disaster.
Well, where it's smeared on all the banisters and
Yeah,
slid
it's
over.
kind of like, yay, I've been given a baked good as a welcome gift.
Admittedly, I had to laugh at someone's misfortune because there was a girl running around dressed as Lightning, and the Britannia has full-size wall mirrors, and she thought she spotted another Lightning cosplayer, ran up to her, smash, stranger's mirror. And we were all off our tits on meds, we thought we hallucinated it, and then we were like, it's actually a body on the floor.
We all saw it together.
There was no first aid or either.
Why does that not shock me? His lift broke, poor Dev got stuck in his hotel room because he's really mobility impaired. And one lift wasn't working, Games room was on the top floor.
Everything's on the top floor.
And the second lift broke down halfway through the event, which means he was stranded up there because he was not allowed to use the service lift that everyone else had to end up using because no one could figure out how to walk up the stairs, which looked like a car park, concrete death traps.
How have they not bulldozed this place?
It's fine, they gave you an inch.
They put the H
Yeah, they keep redoing the front so it looks nice, and then the inside is just decay. It's a house that Cthulhu runs, I swear it.
It's a little bit like there's one up in Blackpool, I can't remember the name of it. But it looks like a castle on the outside, it looks lovely.
Didn't they try and run like a Harry Potter run?
Yeah, but I've been up there for, I can't remember what it's called, it's not Supernaturals, but it's basically loads of people from Gotham, there's people from like Supergirl and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
It's basically you just go to the convention just to get autographs, there's no like events or anything, it's literally just panels and signings.
Was it?
Yeah, but they've got like one in Blackpool, and yeah, the hotel looks lovely on the outside. It's like really scenic castle sort of thing. You go on the inside, and it's like, ooh, I can smell your
Was that a Wolford then? Sorry, was that a Wolford then? Or was that something?
No, it's the other ones.
Star Fury?
Yes, it's
Okay.
Steph. So yeah, it's like the hotel rooms are apparently, I didn't stay, I was at one of the B&Bs down the road, but apparently the rooms were awful. They were tiny little cupboards, awful. Like staying as Harry Potter. The first book.
It's a living experience.
Yeah.
Norbreck Castle.
That's it, thank you. Norbert Castle.
Don't go there.
Do not go there.
Do you have one?
Yeah, this is kind of awkward, removing the obvious candidate, because I've been to... No, I didn't go to Gemo because I saw the shit show that was going to be from a mile off.
Yeah, we were starting with you.
Just from the way they approach the build-up on that one. If you're going to start a new convention, don't as part of your social media on your web page, shit talk every other convention in the UK. Not cool. Because if you don't live up to that, which Gemo blatantly didn't, it's just going to make you look really fucking stupid.
Mm.
No, but leaving out Alcon, because I've been to several of them, and to be honest, all of my, without exception, nearly all of my shittiest experiences have always been at that convention. So my hatred is based through a genuine first-hand experience as opposed to hearsay. So as you say, as a concept, the way it's a great idea. It's just the powers that be who run it are less than ideal. Right, leaving that alone, I think the worst convention experience I've probably had, and it wasn't really the fault of the convention itself, it's when I went to MCM Dublin a few years ago, because I think it was it was the first MCM Dublin, I think.
Yeah.
And because I've been doing quite well, because this was when I
Oh, you brought me tea. Someone brought me tea. Or did I bring you and Claire tea?
I think you might have brought us tea.
Because it was just like we're in this hellhole together when you
because this was when before my current job, when I was still doing it a lot more actively in my spare time. We'd been doing quite well at MCM events with the t-shirt selling. So when they announced they were going to do MCM Dublin, and we thought, oh, we quite like Dublin, let's go out and trade at an MCM event there. It's hopefully that'll be a nice little money spinner for us. And because normally I might not have gone, because normally when we went out to Dublin, because we used to go to one of the Irish cons out there regularly, non-con, which sadly doesn't run anymore, but we used to go there, so we quite like Dublin. So we'd normally fly out and get a limited amount of our stock just kind of posted out, but this time, because of the big MCM event, I thought, right, going to hire a van, fucking load it up with all our stuff and go over there. And at the time it was the single most expensive show that we'd ever had to go to, because the cost of the travel and the ferry and everything, it was the most money we'd had to lay out to go to a show. And then we turned up and we sold fuck all, basically. I don't even think we broke double figures with the number of shirts we sold. Made an absolutely enormous financial loss on that one, nearly actually killed our little business. So quite sad. That was quite a close one, but yeah, I mean, not intrinsically the fault of the event itself, it's just the Irish market is very, very small and it is oversaturated with too many events, so the money gets spread quite thinly. So yeah, that is my worst non-alcohol based story.
Yeah, the initial MCMs that go to new, interesting places. I didn't go to when MCM expanded into Europe. They started off with 2 shows in Hanover in Germany and in Belgium. The Belgian event was pushed back, I want to say 6 to 8 months, because of the terrorist attack. I think it's not like the airport got bombed, I think it was.
I think that was it, yeah.
So we were now in November in Belgium, which geographically is a lot closer to the north than I'd like to be, and it was a really, really bad turnout. So we had I think the ratio was roughly 1 staff member to 2 attendees. It wasn't great, and the hall was really cold. And
that'd be a refreshing change from usual.
Well, rather than just masses of sweaty nerds, we were bored. I think it was the problem with MCM sizes is it's never been there's too many people, it's more, there's always something that needs doing. So you're always on your feet and you're always busy. But when you're manning a stand with nothing to do, you've still got to sit there until the show closes. But that show's not happening anymore. They canned it pretty much midway on the Saturday. They were like, nope, not happening again. I think Hanover's still going to be a thing in Germany. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with the Irish events, because MCM's put quite a lot of investment into the Northern Ireland event, because they're building basically in the Northern Ireland venue at the moment. When I was last there, they built this nice entry atrium, but the rest of it was basically a tent, because they'd had to shift the venue from one location to another, so they basically built like a pop-up tent thing for it. But their idea behind that is that we're on the ground floor, because that space is going to be built into something akin to the NEC. And at which point they might stop doing the Dublin show, because Belfast and Dublin are like a half-hour drive between each other.
So it's not quite.
No, not quite sure.
I think it's a couple of hours.
Is it? I thought it was quite close to.
No.
Because like one of the criticisms that MCM got with the Dublin show was that it wasn't Central Ireland. It was quite expensive. Like, Dublin's really expensive. So we had a lot of complaints from people.
Attractive flies, apparently.
Probably not helping that much either. Something else. I can't think of any bad ones that I've already described. Although you mentioned Collider.
Oh yes.
So that's now.
Collider. Yeah, the chairman that used to run here, Matt, and his lovely lady Naomi, decided to branch off. They left here, they branched off, and they decided to run their own con called Collidercon. And it was advertised as from the creators of Kitacon. And they didn't do any promotional work at all. No one had ever heard of it.
Yeah.
Except
I didn't see any flyers for that.
No.
I think the most they got promotion was someone made an announcement at MinamiCon against their wishes. It was kind of a strange sort of... The idea of Collidercon was really, really cool, because it was all about tabletop games, and those sort of games nowadays are really, really popular, the Warhammers and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, as Luke said, there was absolutely zero marketing, and it's kind of like there's a good crossover with the anime crowd. I play Warhammer sometimes.
But admittedly, their choice of venue didn't help, because it was a Hilton by Heathrow.
Yeah, and I think it was 2 weeks before the October MCM.
Yeah. That kind of kills most things.
Yeah, unfortunately it folded, I think, a week after that to the Kitacon. Yeah. So sometimes it's interesting to see that. Sometimes there are really good ideas for conventions, it's just sometimes the execution just hasn't been pulled off, or in terms of...
I feel like there's a lot of people that misunderstand how much work is needed.
They just think it's some kind of jolly.
Also, getting money for a startup is incredibly difficult. Which is why pretty much any convention that pops up now will either be one that's been running for years, that has either resurfaced because they've got leftover money in their coffers, or they are for-profit events, or they're like small Comic-Cons where basically they can just get away with hiring a sports hall and putting dealer tables in and potentially getting guests based on ticket sales.
I mean, there's been quite a big spring up of one-day events as well. One-day events as well, 2-day events.
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, like one-day events for me have always been a bit of a kind of a, how can I put this nicely? They're hard for me to justify going to, because one-day events are technically more expensive to travel to. Because, okay, you're not paying for 4 nights accommodation or 3 nights accommodation, you're paying potentially for one, but you've got to still either get there the day early so that you've got the full day, or you end up, one-day events tend to, they can close and then at like 6 p.m. And then that's it. So at that point, regarding, and then you've got to travel back probably the same day. And one-day events, I'm very hesitant to say we'll get anything, any kind of decent numbers unless they've hit, like, they're in a very, very good central location and they'll get, like, locals down. So Birmingham, London, any one-day events in those cities will probably do really, 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 really well. But when you start getting to, like, the south, so Cardiff, Bristol, you know, you'll only get locals. Because train travel is fucking expensive in this country. And not everyone drives. And that's a problem.
Yes. Right, we have unfortunately come to the end of this panel. Big round of applause please for our panelists who took part in the discussion. I feel like we have all learned some fascinating facts and how not to injure ourselves at conventions. Anyway, have a great weekend, guys. Still plenty more coming up this weekend. We've got the Cosmic Masquerade this afternoon. And yeah, thank you very much for attending. Have a great day.